You need to keep building and iterating on your product until you observe that a metric is growing up astronomically fast and pin your pricing against that. You want to construct it creatively such that what the pricing is pinned against is a metric that adds little to no cost to value creation and production, but grows astronomically fast to create cost to revenue asymmetry, which is the holy grail of profitability. It shouldn't matter whether or not the metric contributes to your cost. Monetizing your product is an art that requires careful consideration before choosing a pricing model. It often involves deep understanding of the product metric to use as the vehicle for driving the product's revenue. You usually want to attach monetization trigger to the product metric that scales not linearly to cost and represents value to the customer. Finding the balance between these two factors can be what defines a profitable product and the products that are not. Before you can find that balance for monetization triggers, you must first confirm that your users are willing to pay for the product. At this point, you're not optimizing for profitability or revenue growth or anything like that. You are simply testing a risky hypothesis that someone out there will find what you've built valuable enough to part with their hard cash for that. At this point, make the cost as small as possible. Once you've passed this stage successfully, you can now start optimizing for revenue growth. While optimizing for revenue growth, the most straightforward and obvious thing one may think of may not be the right thing to do. So it's important to make data-driven decisions at this point. Builders and entrepreneurs out there tend to think linearly in terms of cost structure that builds up the value they create. For example, in a hardware business, a founder can say, this product cost me $10 per user. Therefore, I will charge $15 for a 50% gross margin. If it's a SaaS product, the founder could say, since this feature component costs me so much to deliver, let's say 85% of the entire cost, maybe it's an AI-driven feature, I will price against this feature and put it behind my paywall. Therefore, leading to an underlying assumption that what costs you the most to build represents the most value to the customer. Sometimes, after careful analysis, we find out that the best feature, component, or metric to price against is the part that costs you almost nothing, letting users fully enjoy the part, the feature, and component that costs you the most. Let's take a look at some examples to drive home this point. In our first example, we take a look at iPhone. The bill of material for iPhone 14 Pro Max is about $474 and the main driver for that cost are the processor, the display, which include the A16 Bionic processor and all the other custom chips that come with it. $474 is just the bill of material, which covers the component only. It doesn't include the production cost, the marketing cost, and distribution cost. So don't think Apple is ripping you off, charging you $1,000+ for what's worth only $474. That's on a lighter note. Let's get more serious now. Getting back on track, it makes sense for Apple to use the gigahertz number on the CPU core to price the product, or the resolution number or some screen display to price the product. But no, doing that will create a tier of Apple product that will have poor user experience and be substandard. They won't portray the high quality luxury product they like to be seen as. They simply use the storage, which essentially one of the cheapest component on an iPhone bill of material. 64GB, 128GB, and 256GB iPhones. That's how they're tiered and that's how they're priced. The markups are completely different from the actual price it costs them for the storage, thus creating a nice asymmetry between production cost and revenue generated per product. That asymmetry is the dream of every founder out there, where the tiered pricing layer adds marginal or no cost to the business, but creates an exponential income in terms of revenue impact. Next example is ClickUp, an end-to-end SaaS project management software. You get unlimited tasks, unlimited team members, unlimited features, and everything else they've got to offer, but 100 MB storage limit. If you don't cross that 100 MB storage limit, then you've not found value in that product. But the ClickUp team is allowing you to explore the entire product with all your team members, improving the odds of you recognizing value quickly, while making the pricing trigger the 100 MB of storage. ClickUp could have said, hey, you have 1 month or even 3 months for free. Or they could have said the first 2 projects or 3 members. Or they could have said these first 2 modules or features are free. And this one that is AI powered and sophisticated are paid for. They instead set you up by making everything unlimited but storage. By having those unlimited access to those features, drive up the storage utilized by users. Then checkmating the users with a pricing trigger of 100 MB, which is practically nothing in terms of cost to ClickUp. This is fair, absolutely fair, because the unlimited features and modules wouldn't have mattered anyway if ClickUp was a bad product, as people would hardly cross their 100 MB limits before they churn and drop off the funnel. But now ClickUp has the incentive to optimize and improve the product to a point where average storage after a short period crosses 100 MB, then converting free users to paid users. So checkmating users later in the funnel is totally fine as long as they have a choice to say no. You don't have a gun on their head. What this does is that it gives you and your team clarity of experimentation pathway and hypothesis curation, as you would keep testing on what must be true to keep driving up storage utilization, thus increasing how soon you convert new users to paid users. The last example is Zapier with their free forever plan, allowing you to use any zaps but limiting you to only 100 tasks per month. This must be due to the fact that their data has probably explained to them, the users that are able to reach 100 tasks per month on multiple connected zaps have recognized value. And since number of tasks scales exponentially, it makes sense to connect pricing to that. The bottom line is that you need to keep iterating and building your product until you observe that a metric is growing up astronomically fast, and paying your pricing against that. And before you get to that point, it's okay to charge them a small fee depending on the type of product that we're talking about. And that's just to test the user's propensity to pay. You will never really be able to correctly tell what metric to price against in the beginning, as our minds tend to think linearly, increasing our tendency of plugging our pricing to our cost structure. You want to construct it creatively such that what the pricing is pinned against is a metric that adds little to no cost to value creation and production and grows astronomically fast to create cost to revenue asymmetry, which is the holy grail of profitability, and high margin profitability at that. It shouldn't matter whether or not the metric contributes nothing to your cost. Think of how Apple's $30 memory chip is tiered across various capacities to increase revenue impact by hundreds of dollars per product. Think of how all the astronomically high numbers of likes and interactions on Instagram and Facebook are connected to monetization through advertisers that are paying for it. Anyways, that's it on this episode of Defensible Mode Show. Stay tuned, stay subscribed, and catch you on the next one. Bye for now.